rushing is violence, and so is your silence when it's rooted in compliance. To stand firm in loving defiance, make art your alliance, give voice to the fire. Move people to the beat of the wind, gather yourself and begin to dance the song until it ends. We are winners, champions of the light, forming in numbers and might. Keep the truth close in sight. And woman, medicine man, walking with grace. I know your face and I trust your hands. Medicine woman, medicine man, walking with grace. I know your face and I trust your hands. Find your teachers in the voice of the forest. Unplug, you can't ignore this wisdom of the voiceless. Remedies are bountiful and surround us, from the garden to the farthest. Prayer made of stardust. Find your healing in the music that calls you, the voice that enthralls you. What do you belong to? Eyes out, there's the setting of the sun. Give thanks to each and every one. The lesson is the medicine woman, medicine man, walking with grace. I know your face and I trust your hands. Medicine woman, medicine man, walking with grace. I know your face and I trust your hands.
Welcoming. I see people are gathering, making sure you have everything you need. We're about to get started. Your oil and your journal, and your candle, and your tea, or whatever yummy thing you're drinking.
We hold tight to our right to protect them. We know our might is tenfold in connection. Our elders hold them bright lights, we protect them. The medicine is evident, the wolf, the hawk, the bear clan. We hold tight to our right to protect them. We know our might is tenfold in connection. Our elders hold them bright lights, we protect them. The medicine is evidence, the wolf, the hawk, the medicine woman, medicine man, walking with grace. I know your face and I trust your hands. Medicine woman, medicine man, walking with grace. I know your face and I trust your hands.
Beautiful. Welcome. Whoa. We're about to get started. I have my green light for St. Patrick's Day. You can kiss me if you want to instead of pinching me, but I have the green. And it's a full moon. So this is a special time, and we're walking out of winter, coming into spring. Yesterday, I was walking on this mountain top, on this path along the crest, and to the left of me was the full moon rising, and to the right of me was the golden sun setting, walking out of winter into the spring on the top of a mountain. I'm like, this is where we are right now. This is where we are. Session 8. We're consciously choosing our path, right? And in this session, we're going to unlock power center 3, right? So this, when we unlock this power center, it just helps us become more magnetic so that we can magnetize and draw to us support that we need. So then we can amplify ourselves as creators. So I'd like us to begin like we always do, just by dropping right into our sacred space with an opening centering meditation. So I invite you to find your seat, to settle in. Yeah, and taking a moment to take a nice deep breath and feel yourself clear everything to one side. And feel yourself literally like you're just shifting your awareness from the ordinary things you've been doing, all the busy things you've been doing, and shifting your awareness into extraordinary awareness. And with your breath, bring your attention back. Bring it back to your own body. And breathing all the way down into your hips, down into your legs, down into the soles of your feet, and into the earth. And breathing into this deeper, wider center, this place where you can bring forward, where you can bring to the forefront all of your love, all of your power, all of your empathy and wisdom and your genius, bringing forth all of your gifts so that when you're in this deeper, wider center, you can bring all of that right here to be utilized in service of your greatness, of your destiny, of your potentials being unleashed. And expanding your awareness to the edges of your body and expanding your awareness to the edges of the room and moving into a place of curiosity, moving into this place of awe and wonder, to a place where you can receive and let go of needing to know all the answers, the how, the when, the what, the where, the why. And listening into yourself and connecting with your deeper desires and being curious about what your next steps might be. And with your breath down in your deeper, wider center, start to expand your awareness into this field of profound connection with others. And feel this connection between you and I. And feel this connection between the other sisters and in our circle. And start to feel this connection to the other people in your life. And know how good it is, how it feels so good to know that you're a part of this much larger matrix of life. And how in each and every cell in your body is activated with consciousness. And each and every cell of your body is activated with this intelligence and with this power of life. And you are being connected and open. You are being sustained and sustaining. And we have everything we need to realize the greatest possibilities of our lives. And so we are stepping through this portal into manifestation. We're stepping in together so that we can amplify each other's greatness and we can support each other and witness. And so together we say yes, we say thank you. So it is. and so it shall be. Welcome, bringing all of ourselves here, feeling really present and full in this moment. Yeah, it seems so much lighter in the world. Everyone has bright lights now. It's not so dark. Wow, our world just lit up. We're in session 8. We're unlocking Power Center 3, and there's just all this light everywhere. Our time has shifted and changed. It's magic is really happening, unfolding all around us. So let's stitch in. What are we bringing into our circle?
I'm bringing magical colors, weaving in delicious, yummy color into our one heart. Magic, color, and music.
Weaving in magic, color, and music. Welcome, magic, color, and music.
Yeah.
Wow, here's a little welcome. There's a lot of energy here tonight. Yeah, beautiful.
Excuse me. I'm feeling really low today, so about all I can bring in, and as much as I have, is my presence.
Your presence, gorgeous presence. Welcome presence. We'll give you a little sound vibration to just hold you in the cauldron, in the bowl, so you can be held.
I would like to stitch in deep healing.
Deep healing. Wow. Yes, deep healing. Deep healing. And I am stitching in the word is emergence. I'm stitching in the unfurling and the emerging of connection. Like we emerge and then we connect. Nice. Well, now that we're all here, we're present with our magic, our color, our music, with our deep healing, as we're emerging in this present moment, we're connecting with each other. We have been on this journey and we're all the way already in session 8. So I want to celebrate you for that. And what have we done so far? It's like, oh, you look back and you're like, okay, if this is a garden, we've been preparing the beds, we've been tilling the soil, we've been like making these beds. We had to move some things around and recohere them. We had to pull out some weeds, and then we planted our seeds of potential, and then we activated them, and then we extended a bunch of light on them and sunshine. And so now we're going to pour water into this fertile soil so that it can emerge and grow. And because this session, you know, it's a journey, so it continues on these ideas that we're cultivating the conditions for our creativity to grow, right? And for our love to grow, and our greatness, and our presence, and our healing, and our gifts to grow, and to realize, and to become tangible in our lives, right? And so I just really want to celebrate that. Even if you're not feeling well, you're showing up, right? Even if you don't know it, you're making a lot of progress. You know, we've unlocked, you know, Power Center 1, where we started to disrupt these old stories of how we were talking to ourselves, right? And so we start to have a more empowered, loving relationship with ourselves, right? And we start to energize these new stories about how we can grow and show up with our presence and with our beauty, with the fullness of who we are, because we have a relationship with ourselves in a deeper way. And then we unlock Power Center 2, which is like our spiritual navigation system, our intuitive knowing, right? And so that way we can step out of lack and scarcity and deprivation, and then we stepped more deeply and more grounded into this quantum field, which seemed not grounded, but then we have some roots, and so then we can enter in this quantum field, and we can see that we're a part of this much bigger picture, and this whole universe is awakening and evolving, and it's co-creating itself through us. And we're stepping into that with like awe and wonder and curiosity, and we're trying to see how we can, what comes from that. And so now we're going to build on those same foundations, and we're going to apply it, because now that you have this sense of yourself and the sense of the universe, now you can manifest something, right? Now you have the conditions so you can bring something into the manifest form. And so, you know, the paradox is what we want to do. I'm going to just go back for a second. In the first Power Center, when we were cultivating our relationship with ourselves, we're unlocking shame, right? And this disconnected parts of ourselves that don't have access to resources. And so that part of ourselves that's stuck in shame was in a closed, fixed loop. And it's coming up with all these un-resourceful ways, right, of thinking about things and approaching things, right? And then that's similar with Power Center 2. When we're in lack, we're in a disconnected way. We don't really have access to the universe. And so we're having these resources, but we don't even recognize them, that they're there. And now in the third Power Center, we're in Power Center 3, and we're in that Power Center. The shadow of that Power Center is isolation, right? And so when we're isolated, then even though we're like loving, generous, creative people that are surrounded by people all the time, we feel alone. And we have all these patterns and these structures that keep us feeling separate from other people. So that's the paradox that we have. We're loving and generous, and we're around people, yet we feel alone, and we feel misunderstood, and we feel like we might not have all the resources or the support we need. And so that's the thing we want to break out of. So this power block is of isolation, and it's, you know, of course, it's deep, because we as women, there's reasons for these things. They don't just show up, right? There are reasons for these things. And historically, as women, we've been in a pattern of taking care of other people. And when we're other directed, we disappear in ourselves. When there's other person's needs that are so much more important than ours, then we disappear. And so one of the reasons for this, these aren't really, I'm not making them as criticisms, I'm just pointing out why this could happen. But I mean, just think of motherhood. Whether or not you've given birth, you can understand motherhood, right? And since the beginning of humanity, And even all the other animals do this too, right? If your sole responsibility is to keep this little creature alive, you're going to put all your attention over there in keeping that little creature alive. Like you're going to put your attention there. Of course, you're going to do that. Also, historically, as women, we haven't had the power that we have now. And so our power and our survival and our good life was really dependent on how other people perceived us. And hence, if people liked us and we were good, then our life was better. So our job was to anticipate their needs, to make sure that they have their needs met. And then when they have their needs met, we can maintain a homeostasis at home, at work, in our lives, and everybody's happy, right? That's what we do. We've been doing this forever, right? And then here, all of a sudden, we become empowered, and now we're liberated. Holy, we have all this success, and now we start to become not so focused on everybody else. Now we're focused on ourselves, right? And that feels really good, to feel autonomous, to feel sovereign, to feel free, right? Now we can focus on our needs, what we need. But then the challenge of that, especially in this hyper masculine culture, is that we're conditioned to believe like, oh shoot, if I don't have all the answers, or if I can't do it myself, then I'm weak and I'm insufficient. And if I need any help at all, then that's like a sign that I'm just unable, incapable, and I'm weak and just terrible, right? So either way, in these extreme scenarios, when we put ourselves, our first attention on somebody else and disappear our own needs, or we become so overly focused on ourselves, either way, we're alone. We're isolated because we're not able to open ourselves, and we can't access the emotional support or the practical support. We can't be vulnerable and be real with ourselves and with other people, right? And so in order for us to realize ourselves, the highest intentions, and the awaken, and for us to, we keep talking about, for us to self-realize and self-actualize, in order for that to happen, we actually need more resources and more support than what's happening right now. So we need to unlock these blockages. Okay, I think you're with me. So the magic key to shift through the power center, this third power center, really relates to how we relate to other people, right? Because when we unlock this power center, we move out of isolation, and then we move into connection. And what connection, we've been practicing this. You know how we've done this in a couple times, where you're aware of yourself and your needs. You're aware of the other person and their needs at the same time. And you're aware of the space in between. That's connection. That's when we unlock this power center, then we're in that space. Okay, it feels really good. I can feel that in my hand. And so, and a way for us to think about connection, and I noticed some of my language in here, I might want to refine it a little bit, but it's not that we want to use people for this, so I don't want to use that language, but I want us to see others in a loving way, and to see them as the portal for our manifestation. What I mean by that is, like, there's a couple different ways that our relationships become the source of our co-creative ability. And so the first way of thinking about it is see others as the portal for which you're going to manifest through. And what I mean by that is, when you can connect to others as the gateway, as the portal, of your manifestation and you realize that's how things manifest, then you align with that. And when you align with it, then the universe can flow through you better. And so these deeper desires that you have, that you're feeling, they literally they manifest through your relationships, which is a little bit different than how we tend to think about it. Like in our masculine world, we think about I don't know, okay, I want something. Oh, I'm bewitched. There it is. Oh, I want something. I'm gonna Google it, and the big, computer in the sky is gonna have this algorithm, and it just appears because you want it. Like it just appears out of thin air, right? And so the other thing is it doesn't really work that way. I mean, and the other thing is when we think about manifesting, sometimes we think about it. I want us to think about it like this, rather than thinking about it as just manifesting an object. But I want us to think about it as we are powerful, sovereign people. We are in our power center one. We have a healthy relationship with ourselves. We're loving and capable and expanded to others, but to ourselves, right? We feel somewhat comfortable in our own skin. We're starting to form a healthy identity with the wholeness of who we are, including our shadow, right? So that's power center one. So we're rooted in that. And then we're also rooted in, oh, I'm a part of something much bigger than me. I'm a part of this expanding, ever evolving universe. I fully understand that, and I'm connected to that. And so I'm connected to that, and I'm a co-creator with the universe. And so we're co-creating with the universe. We understand that. Our deeper desires, we have these desires that start to open up. We start to get curious. We start to take action. And then we meet somebody. These perfect people show up, right? And we meet someone, and it's through them that then our intentions come into form. It's through others that we can bring things into form. Because what happens in our mind before seeing it through others, what we thought was the computer in the sky does it, is that we tend to be oriented on the process of creation through the masculine way of creating things. And then what we do is we see an object. Like, okay, I want to create my herb business. I'm going to create an herb business, right? I want to create an herb business. So I start to think about, okay, I want to create an herb business. And so then you start to think like, well, what is that? And then you start to see all like an apothecary. This is what I see, an apothecary and all these little bottles, and on the bottle has a name that I created with my name on there, with the thing that a blend that I created. And there's this little bottle, and I see this bottle, I see this item, right? And I see, that's what I think when I'm creating. When you think from the pie and the computer in the sky, you're creating this object. So just think about it, like you're smiling, holding this bottle's got your name on it. I created that, right? So let's just kind of imagine like a movie screen, and imagine that bottle and that smile, like I did this, and that close-up shot that's on the screen, right? And now I want to invite you to imagine that you are panning all the way back. Like you can all the way back, and you can see this bigger picture of how this business actually manifested, right? So as you're looking at the big screen and you're looking at the process of this business manifesting, it might actually look something more like, oh, I am in love with herbs and plants, and I keep finding myself making these things, and I shared them with my friends, and they liked it. And then I meet somebody that's kind of doing something really cool, and I'm like, I would love to be an herbalist and have an herbal practice and make some remedies. And they see that in you. They're like, you've been playing with plants your whole life. I can totally see you as a medicine maker. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Of course, you want to do that. So they're reflecting, they see it back in you, and you're like, oh, okay, wow. And then, so you're like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. I don't know, maybe. And then you come across, there's this herb teacher. They're doing a workshop. Or in my case, it was a midwife teaching herbs in the class. But there's this herb teacher, she's doing a workshop. I sign up for the class, right? And so now I'm with this fantastic midwife, herbalist teacher, and I'm in her class, and she's teaching everything to me, and I'm just like eating it up, right? So going to the workshop, going to this and making all the stuff, and then we're in class, and she gives us an assignment to make up a mock herbal line, and boom, you have the vision of like, I'm gonna make this for the pregnant girls, I'm gonna make this for the breastfeeding, I'm gonna do this, and you have the whole vision, right? And so then you just start like dreaming it up, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is this kind of a hobby, and because you're working with the plants in your yard, until someone comes to you and is like, hey, do you know about mountain rose herbs? You can buy all these things and they're all organic, and you can buy everything. You don't have to do all that work you're doing. You can cut that in half if you get these herbs here. Holy shit, now I have all the resources and more time because somebody else told me about it. And now I've got this, I'm starting to make it, and I'm getting excited. And then a friend of mine's like, oh, this is really cool. You should talk to my friend who owns a store. She has a store that is a mom and baby boutique, and she knows you and she loves you. I was talking about you the other day. Oh my gosh, go talk to Bernice at Terratots. So you go to Terratots. Bernice loves your stuff. Of course, she's going to sell your stuff. So then you sell your stuff and you have a wholesaler, right? And then a couple people see it and they're like, where else do you sell it? So you get the courage and then you sell it at the next store, right? That's how it starts to be a manifest thing. It's not just because there's a bottle there and I have an idea with my name on it. It manifested from somebody mirroring back to me, a teacher coming into my life, resources, somebody sharing me about resources, and then a friend, oh, I was talking about you, a connection, and then a connection and a connection. If it wasn't for Terra Tots buying my stuff, I would never have become Birdsong Botanicals, right? It came through the connection of somebody. So that's how it happens, right? So how things happen, the end result is through a matrix of relationships. So I invite you to think about that. Think about what you're manifesting. What's your area? I know Daisy's making all kinds of things. She's got some essential oil chakra kit, making all sorts of things, right? She's manifesting that. And so I'm connecting her to you. See, somehow this is important, right? And so you're manifesting something too, maybe a circle or a business or a relationship. And so just get curious and see how this larger matrix of life and connections is helping you bring into fruition what you're trying to bring into the world, right? So just get curious, and maybe if you have an idea, if you want to write it down, like maybe, but really we're gonna seeing how your relationships could unlock your intention. And so tonight, while you're writing that down, it's going to be really experiential. And of course, I made a teaching audio that's got a lot more content in it and context that will help you really break free from these feelings of isolation. But we're going to do a few practices tonight. And so I'm going to let you finish writing that down. I mean, and really, it's an example of this circle is being formed through these connections, right? There's no way I could have ever been a Qigong teacher or hold circle unless there were other sisters sitting in the circle with me. Or I just do a solo practice and I meditate by myself, like I have for years. But now we sit together because we all showed up, and this is being birthed through you. Hmm. Okay, we have a long way to go, my loves. And so let's shift our awareness to our first practice. And this first practice, since we're dealing with other people, this is called the loop of awareness. And this was created by a woman I don't really know very well, but her name is Dr. Katie Hendricks, right? And so when we're realizing we're co-creating with the universe and we're co-creating with others, then we need to be aware of the relational field, which means that, like I said before, aware of ourselves and our own needs and our own sovereignty, and others and their needs and their sovereignty at the same time. So we need to practice that skill. So I invite you to practice that with me, and we can take a nice deep breath and taking a nice deep breath and starting to clear everything to one side so we can drop into this practice. Beautiful. So taking a nice deep breath and dropping your awareness inside your body and reconnecting with the higher power, with the universe, and get a sense. Well, that was interesting. So let's drop back in. um, and as we do this loop of awareness, what we're doing is we're dropping into our body and with our breath, and we're connecting to the universe. And we're connecting to that sense that the universe is unfolding and expanding, and it's organizing around our success. It wants us to self-actualize. And so we're going to bring our awareness and remember your intention. And you're going to bring your awareness toward your intention. And you're going to bring your awareness to your desires that you're creating in your life and in our journey. And you're just starting to get curious and start to think about others who are in this area of your life that you're wanting to manifest in. Like, so if you're creating a relationship, who are the others in this relationship? Or if you're working with deepening your relationship or expressing yourself or starting a business, who are the others that you're relating to as you're bringing your intention into manifestation? So start to imagine who that is. And imagine them, ask them in your mind to come forward and stand before you or sit with you. And imagine that you're having a conversation with this person and you're being focused fully on yourself. And you're there with you and you're focused on yourself and you're being aware of your own inner life. You're being aware of your desires. You're being aware of your needs, right? And you're aware of the other person. right? And now imagine that there's a circle, like a sphere of energy connecting both of you. Right? And you shift your attention to be fully to the other person. You're in the sphere, and now your attention is fully on this other person. And you're into their inner life. You're aware of their needs, of their desires and their feelings. And now bring your attention back to yourself, into your own body and your own needs. To manifest this, what you're needing to manifest this, your own self. And now bring your attention to the other person, to their needs. Again, bringing yourself back to yourself and your needs, and shifting to the other person and their needs. Right? And so now start to let your heart open, and you can start to expand your heart as you feel a deeper connection to them, as your awareness goes back and forth, back and forth to you and to them. You're aware of yourself and the other person as your heart is opening like an infinity symbol, pouring into you and to them, of reciprocity, becoming aware of the field that connects you. Just sense and feel that. And start to bring your awareness back to this circle that we're in. Taking a nice cleansing breath. And just asking yourself, and you can even journal for a moment, like, what did you notice when you had your attention on yourself? And what did you notice when you shifted to the other person? And then when it started to become this reciprocal, mutual awareness, what did you discover in that? And so we're about to take this practice a little deeper. I trust you'll keep discovering, right? So what we're going to explore here and what we want to disrupt is being overly self-focused or overly centered, overly other focused. And so when you're in your power center, when you're rooted and expanded in your center, you're magnetic. I mean, you're just on fire. I mean, you're just gorgeous. You're like in your radiance, right? And so when you're in that place, you magnetize support and resources. The universe opens up. You're in this great place because you're connected to yourself and you're connected to others, and you're just in that place of alignment when you're in power. And so when you're in this fully power, then it helps us break free of some of these patterns that are blocking us, right? So that's the goal of what we're about to do. So the first way that we tend to get blocked is when we focus on other people. And there's some overly focus, not just because you focus on somebody, but when you lose yourself in someone. And we can find sometimes we're in certain areas of our lives we're really self-focused, overly focused, and then in other areas we shift to be overly other focused, and so let's just explore. And so thinking about the area of your intention, coming back to the area of your intention, let's just see. So, because here's the thing, and we didn't choose these other areas to be our area of intention because they tend to be flowing fairly well in our life. So we're choosing this area of our intention because there's some little misalignments, right? And so we're unlocking some things. So it's bringing our awareness here. And what we want to do is I'm going to lead us through being overly focused in one area or the other. So imagine yourself, you're tapping into your intention, you're tapping into it, and you're stepping into that part of your life, right? The part of you that lives in this area of your intention. And we are going to practice what it feels like to be other focused. And so have your intention and have that other person be here in front of you. And give them 100% of your attention. And focus on the other person. And then really just get in there and assume that their needs and their feelings and their desires are so much more urgent and important than yours. Like whatever they're doing is more important than what you're doing. All your attention is on them. And you can feel yourself kind of starting to disappear. You start to disconnect with yourself, and you're mirroring them with your body language. You're kind of doing what they're doing in your body language. Your facial expressions are becoming their facial expressions. And you're doing what you believe is going to support them so that they have their needs met. And you're just fully oriented around having their needs met. And just sense and feel what you're feeling in your body. And just sense and feel what it might feel like. You might be feeling isolated or invisible. Just notice the disconnection between you and the other person. Okay, you can sense and feel that. So let's just go ahead and let's shake that off. When you sense and feel, you know what that feels like in your body. Kind of shake it off. You don't need that. Readjust, have a nice deep breath, have a sip. And now we're going to have an experience. We're going to go back inside that. And we're going to be doing the opposite. Now we're going to be really self-focused. So drop back into this intention, this area of your life, and you're stepping into this time with this person. There they are. And yet you got 100% of all your attention, all your focus is on you. I mean, they're there, but it's almost as if they're like an object in the room, like a bookshelf or a chair or a sofa. Yeah. The other person is present, but they're an object just like everyone else and everything else. Your needs right now are priority. Your attention is a priority. Everything you're thinking, doing, saying is the most important thing. And you're aware of how you're feeling, right? You're almost emotionally overwhelmed by all the things you're feeling. And you're so aware that your attention is really on yourself and your attention is just totally on what you need. But that other person, you're not really aware of them and their inner world. You don't really know their needs. They're really just like an object. They're just kind of there. So just notice your experience of being in relationship or being in disconnection, or is it experience of isolation? What might be there? There's no judgments whatsoever about yourself or about the other person. Just noticing it is what creates this relational field between your own needs for support. So I invite you to shake that off and get curious about, in the area that you're manifesting in, which one of these ways of being is the most familiar to you? Which one of these ways of being is the most comfortable? Which ways have you been being in this area of your intention? And if you can sense and feel, if you could tap into that feeling of being isolated and alone in both of those. And if there's anything you want to write down, now would be a good time for that. Or just bringing awareness to that experience. And really staying with it, because we're going to drop back into that same situation. So let's drop back into that same situation now. But this time we're in our power, right? So let's take a nice deep breath. Drop down into your body, down into your hips, down into your legs, down into your feet, into the earth, right? And allow your loop of awareness to be connected with your own feelings, into your own greatness, your own power, your own needs, your own desires, your sovereignty, becoming aware of yourself. And now focusing yourself, being anchored there, and now being focused and aware as your energy expands outward to the edges of the room. So now your awareness is in your body, and now your second awareness is in the room you're in. And now your third attention, your third awareness goes to the other person. And you're aware of yourself, aware of the room, and aware of the other person. And let your awareness expand and open, and see if you can become aware of the other person's needs and inner life, so that they're not an object, but you're able to feel their needs, you're able to feel their desires and their preferences. but their desires and preferences might be different than yours, right? So you're not losing touch with your own feelings, needs, and desires and preferences, even though it's different than theirs. And so you're practicing being there, feeling yourself, feeling the other person, being open, being connected with your awareness, and letting your awareness expand and get bigger, and to hold you and the other person at the same time. Feeling yourself expand and open into that connection. And just notice how this might feel different than the first time we did this exercise. Being aware of yourself, being aware of others, and being aware of the larger field of life at the same time. This is a key practice for this entire journey, right? So let's even go deeper, okay? We want to disrupt. So some of us noticed that we felt more comfortable focusing on other people. And then others of us might have felt more comfortable focusing on ourselves. So two practices to disrupt being overly other focused, that if that was you, then you might want to consider practice noticing. If you're noticing everyone else, their needs are more important than yours, then notice your own needs. And notice how your own needs are different from those that you're serving. And knowing that when you assert yourself, and knowing that you have different needs and different desires, that doesn't mean you're selfish. So I invite you to take the risk to presence a need or a feeling or a desire that you might have that's different from the other people in your life, and practice that of taking the risk, and just start to presence it. Just start to presence that your need is a little bit different than theirs, and become aware of it. And just presence it. That's all you have to do to start to disrupt it and let things realign. And for those of us that are overly self-focused in the area that we're wanting to manifest, just becoming really aware of other people and having a sense of empathy for them, and having a sense of their own feelings and their perspectives and their concerns, and to start to have a practice of, in a way, giving up some control, right? Maybe let the other person have their way with something. Maybe let them influence you or contribute to you without you feeling like it's an experience of losing all your power or being manipulated. Like, allow them to contribute, and allow yourself to expand to connection, and give up a little of your self-sufficiency that you have to do it all by yourself, and let yourself do something that might not want to do. You think you don't want to do it, but then it might actually turn out okay. All right, just explore that. I'm not asking you to do something like you really don't want to do, but like little things, right? And then that'll help break up that pattern of having people just be objects in the room. And so what we're doing, all of us, what we're doing is we're giving people our presence. We're giving people our attention. And when we're with people, we're not multitasking, right? We're staying connected to each other and to the larger field, right? And that's what we're doing when we tap into consciously expanding this incredible openness of connections. And you'll be amazed when you discover just how much flow and support, and how much the life process has when you're open to receiving it, is by consciously extending yourself into the relational field around you. Mhm. And so this is one of the ways that I mean by when we open this field of connection and we're aware of ourselves, aware of others, aware of the field, then when we walk through the world that way and we're open and available and connected and we're active, right? And then our relationships become this field of relationship. And then that becomes the portal for our co-creation. We're not using them to manifest to get an object. We're interacting with them, listening, receiving, contributing. They're contributing to us. And then together you're co-creating, right? So let's, so this is unlocking power center 3. I think you're getting it. And so let's keep going is the practice of, we want to create a new story about who others are, right? Because this is really important. Actually, this is really important because in Power Center 1, you kind of came up with an identity of yourself. So you can have this personal belief that you're awesome. You can have this personal belief that you're so worthy of love and that you are, that you are enough. No matter who you are, you don't have to do anything to be lovable. You are just, your presence is enough. And you have this identity that you totally believe in your self-worth. And you know that you're lovable. But if you have this old story about who others are, right? Others are, oh, all men leave. All men are assholes like my dad. I can't trust women. Clients, people don't want to pay me for my service, right? So I can believe that I'm worthy of love and own that and know that. But if I think everybody else is messed up, then I can't manifest a beautiful, loving relationship with a man if I think he's going to be an asshole like my dad or leave, or if I can't trust a woman because she's vindictive, or I can't build a business when I think clients won't pay me, right? Because see, that's my story about others. So I have to shift, just like we shifted our story about ourselves, we're shifting it about others. Right, it's the same thing how we did with Power Center 2, when you have a relationship with the universe and you're like, oh, okay, I now understand that I have this quantum ability to tap into the universe. But back to that, others can't pay me because the economy's bad. Then how am I I'm gonna tap into a quantum universe, but the economy's bad, so others won't pay me. So I'm still kind of stuck, right? So when we need to shift our relationship, our story about who others are. I think you can feel what I'm saying. So let's explore this a little bit and let's drop back into our place of open curiosity and awareness and get curious about what has been our story about who others are. So in your area of manifestation that you're creating in, what has been your old story about who men are, who women are, who your boss is, who your parents are, whoever has power, whoever you're interacting in? What's been your story about them up until now? And up until now, what's been your story about them? And what is the old identity that maybe it's time to let go of? And if that comes to you, go ahead and write that down. You're starting to get a sense of the old story of who they are. Okay. So now, just because we're fast tracking, you're getting a sense of the old story. And now see if you can identify what you can be responsible for in co-creating this dynamic. We did this in Power Center 1 too. So let's get curious. Let's take our time and look and see and make it conscious. Look at to what extent have you been getting in your own way of, in what way have you been showing up with these behaviors that reinforce the old story? So if my old story is, well, men are unreliable and they're like my dad and they're going to leave, what way have I been contributing to that? What way am I responsible for that? Oh, well, maybe it's because I lack the discernment or the courage, and I've been so afraid of being alone that I only invest in anybody that is kind of available and kind of interested in me. And so I'm like, oh, you're interested in me. You must be the one because you kind of like me. And then I don't really read the signs that this person really isn't the one and really isn't available for me. But I've overly invested in them, and now I put all my energy into them. And then I got disappointed. And so now I feel unsafe around men. Right? So that's an example. What could be, what ways can you start to see that you might be keeping these old patterns of who others are in your area of manifestation? Right? Because like if it's for business, this is another old story of other people won't pay me for what I have to offer, you know? So how am I responsible for creating a business where other people won't pay me? Well, maybe I haven't really listened to them. I kept creating products without listening to them and wasn't really serving them. Maybe I didn't really understand what their needs were. Right? So I was just trying to put my idea on them. So just really seeing that this dynamic between you and the other person, seeing it as a dance. You're both in this field of energy. You both have needs. You both have desires that may or may not be the same, but you're in it. And so what part are you playing in this dance? Just having a look at it. There's no blame. This is just love and compassion and curiosity. And so writing it down. And so once you bring awareness to it, these kind of things, it's kind of like momentum. You start to get a skill. You brought awareness to it in Power Center 1, so you can bring awareness to it here, and they just start to shift quickly because you're like, oh, I see that happening. Oh, okay. And so now it like happens faster. So the internet's really interesting for me. So here, pop back on. So let's keep going now that we're back. Let's identify the deeper truth. Okay, we saw the old pattern, we saw how we're contributing, and now let's take a nice deep breath again. We're shaking that off, taking a nice deep breath of love and compassion and curiosity, and we're breathing down in the center of our body, down into our hips, down into our legs, down into our feet, down into the earth, down into our deeper, wider center, right? And so we're in this deeper, wider center. And we're bringing all our power and all our resources and all our love and perspective and wisdom of this grown, mature, wise adult woman that you are, and asking yourself, like, okay, so what is the deeper truth? What is the deeper truth of the new possibility about getting my needs met? What is the deeper truth about others and what's possible here in this matrix of connection with them, with others? What is the deeper truth about who others are and your possibility of getting your needs met through them, with them? What is the deeper truth? A new story. There could be a deeper truth that, you know, if I'm concerned about clients not paying me, maybe I doubted my value. Maybe I doubted my ability to contribute, so I didn't really let others contribute to me. Or maybe I choose to be around people that are not as competent as I am, so then I feel more powerful and better than them. Or I take people and I disempower them by just taking over because I really don't know how to receive. And that would be too vulnerable. So those are just some of my stories. What is the deeper truth for you? I mean, maybe another deeper truth is that guess what? That I'm enough, that I don't need to do or be anything or anyone different to be worthy of love and reciprocity and mutual respect. That being myself, I can be myself and be in a field of connection where everybody's feelings and everybody's needs are worthy and valuable. Right? So I invite you to take a moment and really tap into your deeper truth. And what's the new story? And so as you're tapping into the deeper truth and what's the new story, I want to lead you through something, and it might help you really kind of create a new story so you can really understand how much more there really can be. All right. So what we're going to do is you're tapping into the deeper truth in your new story. Let's move into this process where we're expanding, right? Because we're leveling up, right? And if we're growing into who we came here to be, if we're in that alchemical process of the caterpillar dissolving and refining itself and becoming the butterfly, that really isn't something we can do by ourselves, right? We need other people. And so our next step is to expand your capacity to generate support and to be able to receive support from others. So staying in this nice deep experience with your breath, dropping even deeper. And let's drop even deeper into this matrix, this hologram of support that's filled with resources that surrounds you. And imagine yourself stepping into this as you are consciously extending your connection more and more in your life. And so I want you to imagine that you are opening yourself and that you're receptive and you're connected to your truth and to your value. And you're connected to this limitless field of possibility, and that you're standing as a creator. right? And now I invite you to imagine that you are being surrounded by everyone that you are personally connected to. Start by imagining your immediate family, seeing your family members surrounding you. And now you're seeing your family members, and now you're starting to see your friends standing around you in this beautiful circle, showing up. And just as you're feeling this connection with everybody that you start to know personally, start to realize that your family's friends and their friends start to show up. And their friends. And now bring in all of your colleagues, all the people that you work with, that you're connected to professionally, and with your academics, and with your work, your sacred work. And now imagine bringing them into the circle, and they're connected to all of their families and all of their friends and their professional networks. Well, and bringing awareness to just how much emotional support and practical support is available just right here in this field of connection. And now start to bring into the circle all the great saints and sages of all time, all the teachers, all the gurus, all the bodhisattvas. And now start to bring in all the, like I said, the gurus, the bodhisattvas, the experts in the field that have spent their lives developing resources and tools and wisdom. And imagine yourself being directly connected to and being plugged into lifetimes of knowledge, lifetimes of wisdom, lifetimes of resources. And then surrounding that, on the outside of that, imagine yourself being plugged into all the wisdom of the ages. And feel how good it is to realize that you live in the greatest possibility of your life. Like, you don't have to know all the answers. You can access resources, and you can have access to support, and you can have access to wisdom, and you can have the power to learn and to grow, right? So now I invite you to step into what might be a new story about your own power and your ability to access support and resources through others. So just taking a moment right now to write that down, writing down what the new story is about the possibility of you getting your needs met through access and support in this area of your life. This is a really beautiful place to be in right now. You see that sense that you're feeling, that sense of expansion, that beautiful place? What that means is you just unlocked it. You unlocked the power center. You just shifted something. You felt that? I can see that you felt that. That's unlocking the power center. Okay, so now that we've unlocked this power center and we have access to limitless field of resources, like never before in human history, we've never had this much support, and we've never had this much opportunity. And the thing is, the structures in our consciousness have been inside of scarcity, inside of lack, inside of isolation, and those structures are still there, but we just are opening them up. And so we need to develop the ability to tap into, to generate, and to source the resources that are all around us, right? So what I want to speak about right now is what needs to be cultivated or developed so that we can tap into the resources that are here. There are two things that are the keys. I feel like I'm saying keys a lot. There are two things that are the keys. And the first one, is super important, is in order to access support, we need to identify what our needs are. You can't access resources without identifying needs. And the disconnection of lack of awareness about the needs of support and the needs for resources is the number one byproduct of this block, of being blocked, right? So inside isolation, there's an assumption that there's no support. So if there's no support, why would you connect to and access what you need? And why would you even do that when you're not even really able to generate it, right? That's the block. But we just shifted out of that. So when we shift back into connection, most of us, we don't realize it, but we have really developed an ability to identify. We haven't developed our ability to identify our needs accurately. So the first step is to bring awareness to where you need support. So in the audio teaching and in the workbook, I go over this in a lot more detail, but we're going to talk about it here a little bit right here. So we identified some old stories about who others are, right? And we have these old structures in our consciousness that we still want to dismantle. So some of these old structures that are in our minds, our old stories about receiving support is, well, shoot, if I have needs, well, then that means I'm weak and insufficient. If I have needs and I'm receiving support, well, shoot, now I'm going into debt. I got all this stuff and now I'm going into debt. Or our problems are going to, I'm so much, I'm too big, I'm too intense. My problems are becoming a burden to other people, right? Other people are going to think that we're weak, and when we don't know the answers or not having it all figured out, and that means that I am going to lose all my authority. And if I'm a business owner and I'm a boss, or I'm somehow a leader, or I'm like a person important in the family, I'm going to lose authority with those people if I admit that I don't really know what to do, and I don't really know how to guide them, and I don't really know how to help them achieve their goals, right? So that's the old story that we're in when we think about receiving support. So we want to break that up. So let's break that up. Let's begin to connect with healthy needs and ways that we might have some support. So there are some healthy needs and some healthy support. And one of them, the first one, is emotional support. So let's kind of tap into And I encourage you to do this throughout the week where you have more time, but tap into what are some of the healthy needs that you have for emotional support, like needs for encouragement, needs to be heard, maybe a structure for accountability, needs to make healthy changes. So, in what way could be, what way do you need emotional support in these areas? And then the next one is to think about your needs for practical support, right? You know, so what are your practical supports needs? These are healthy needs. Like you might need help to solve a problem or to make a decision, or you might need help creating something new, or you might need practical support like childcare or um, cooking or something like that, a resource. And that practical support kind of extends into life management. It could be life management, business management, ways like tasks that need to be done to free you up so you can do something else. Might be a practical support or a life management support like I need housing or a car or you know, like some real practical thing. And then the last one is resources or knowledge. So what are some healthy needs that you have to access resources like a skill or a training or learning how to do something for your business or so you can get paid more at work or learning how to market your product that you just built or learning how to build a website or some skills, learning how to run circles, what's resources and knowledge information that you might need so you can manifest and co-create with the universe in. And so just noticing what's been blocked up until now about being able to access and source all these amazing resources that are just right here. And while you're asking yourself these questions, like who could you reach out to in your network or your personal connections for some personal and practical support? Who can you reach out to? And as you're thinking about who you could reach out to, you're thinking about like, okay, who can I reach out to? And while I'm still connected to my own needs, and I'm going to reach out, and then I'm going to make a clear request because I know what I need, right? And so I'm going to make a clear request, and I'm going to take a little bit of a risk, but I'm going to be willing to be vulnerable when I reach out for support, right? Like be powerfully vulnerable, and you can share maybe a little bit about what you're doing or what you are needing in a way that will magnetize support. And when you make these clear requests, you're not attached to whether or not this other person is going to say yes or no, because you're in this larger field, relational field. They're not the only source of what you're needing. Just because they're the first person you ask doesn't mean they're the ones that are actually going to do it. So you're not so attached. You're making a clear request. You're being honest and vulnerable. You're not totally attached because they're not the only source, right? And in the audio, I go in through modeling like what needy attachment is, what needy requests are, and what a really magnetizing request. Because what a needy request is, when you start to realize, when you think like, oh, that person's needy. Well, partially what it was is they weren't clear on what they needed. They just said, I just have so many needs, but they didn't really tell you clearly what it was. And there's no way you can fulfill that. And then when they're so needy, you push them away. And so in the recording, I really help you find the language and the script to vulnerably make clear requests that are, ooh, people want to support you. Because if you think about it, I mean, don't you want to support other people? Don't you support people you don't even know? You'll go out of your way to do something for somebody you don't even know. You'll donate money, you'll show up, you'll do a whole bunch of things for other people. And so they'll do it for you. So listen to that audio and go through the workbook, and you'll have a nice script on how to magnetize and get people to want to do what you're asking, what you're requesting. But we're going to do this final piece before we do Qigong. And this final piece is about relationships, and it's about power partners, right? And power partnerships, these are the ones that are going to help you manifest something really big in your life. And so some of the things that we've been seeking these out our whole lives. We've been seeking them out intuitively, but sometimes what we do is we kind of reach the wrong person. And what I'm trying to say is we have this idea of we want to have this like perfect power partner. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic partner. It could be that, but just a partner to meet us and match us, but we don't necessarily know how to identify them or how to approach them or how to create them. So in the handout, again, in this area, I flesh it out more so you have more time. But the thing is, we know that we can't self-actualize by ourselves. We need each other. We need to amplify each other. That's why we come together like this. And that's what this entire course, this entire journey has been built inside of and creative inside the principles of how we're connecting and how we're sharing and how we're amplifying and how we're growing and how we're co-creating something new, right? So the challenge is that we have our relationships, and our existing relationships exist in a matrix of unspoken agreements, whether we're aware of them or not. And so the organizing principle around our relationships is for safety, it's for comfort, it's for security, and it's for emotional support. Right? And so our relationships in general in our lives, in our families, in our homes, in our workplaces, it's all organized to maintain homeostasis, to maintain the status quo, right? To keep it all flowing. And so this is extremely valuable because this is on the level of survival and a level of comfort and a level of security. I mean, it makes sense that we do this, right? The problem is, the challenge is the matrix, the hologram of our relationships and our immediate relationships and our connections, they keep our identity in place. It keeps our behaviors in place. So people in our lives, they relate to us and reflect back to us of who they know us to be in our present moment or who they've known us to be in our past, right? So the breakthrough that we need to have here at this level of self-actualization is to be able to step into and to become who we are at a higher level. Remember, we're reaching higher. We have an impulse to become something that we don't have a frame of reference for in our past, right? And so studies show that we're as happy, we're as healthy, we're as wealthy, we're as successful, we're as loved as the average of the 6 closest people around us. And why is that? We're that way because we're relational. We start to become like the people we're around. And so our sense of who we are and what is possible is held into place by the matrix of the people that we're around. Right? We've known this from a kid. Birds of a feather flock together. Right? And so what we need to do is to create an amplified field of resonance at a new level, at a higher level that we're manifesting and creating in. And so in order to do that, we do that with these power partners. Boom, these power partners. So with power partners, we are consciously coming together with 3 very specific intentions. The first intention is to commit to each other's vision and to each other's process of self-actualization. We understand that this is a process of self-actualization, and we commit to our self-actualization and to their awakening. And the second thing is we reflect back to each other the energies and the vision of who we're becoming versus of who we were in the past and who we are in this moment. It's who we're becoming. And the third is to share our resources, to share our inspiration, to share our connection, our encouragement, our accountability, and to really stand with each other at this higher level. More than just be like, oh, good job, girl, you got this. But like really, really like championing and sponsoring each other. And we do this like when we link arms and we show up for each other at the highest level, right? And when that happens, we just start to open up in really beautiful ways. And so things get catalyzed and activated and we become ourselves. So the place to start, the place to begin to create and attract these power partners is to start by taking inventory of the people that we have in our lives right now. And we want to start to appreciate who everyone is at the level that they're in. And maybe adjust and shift our expectations, because a lot of the time we've been trying to reach out for support from these people when they just can't give it to us. They're just not the right person to do it. So the first level of our relationships that we have with people that are not going to be power partners, but the first level of relationship that we have with people is so important to have with them, but they're not going to be people that are self-actualizing. They're not on a spiritual path to awakening. They're getting by. They got their head down. They're going to work. They're doing their thing. They're awesome people. And they're probably family, friends. You've known them for a really long time. And these relationships are really important to appreciate because they're where you get that emotional support and a lot of that practical support, right? They're people that you can rely on maybe for childcare or certain things that are really helpful, maybe. So kind of tap into your mind, think about who that might be in your life, right? These are not power partners, right? But they are ways to really get your practical needs met and really support you in this level. And so there's some people that are in your lives that you love that are not, you should not try to expect more from than that. Right? And so then the next level of people, the next level of relationships that we have, that we're growing and we really want to nurture, are really interested in spirituality, or interested in growth, self-growth, and they're on a path, but they're not as interested as you are. They're not as committed or as devoted or as enduring as you are. Right? And the challenge is, we often try to connect with these people. We often try to turn them into power partners, but they're really just not there yet, right? They're not in the stage. And so think about who this might be. And again, you really want to appreciate these people for who they are, because they're interesting, and you want to be aware and cultivate friendships with them because they're amazing people. And what happens with these people is they tend to be interested in what you're doing. So they might become clients, or they might become, a person that comes to your workshop, or they come to a party that you're holding, or a network, right? But they're an opportunity for you to model what you're learning, right? They're an opportunity for you to authentically share about your experience and your transformation, without expecting them to really mirror you and support you and give you really actual uplifting transformation. Like, you could be like, oh, I'm in this course right now, in this journey, and consciously choosing my path, and all these amazing things are happening, and it's really powerful. And you just share that with her without her becoming anything else other than, oh, that's cool, tell me about it, right? And so then the final category is, these are the people that you want to cultivate relationships with, because they are just as committed to self-actualization. They're just as committed to awakening. They're just as committed to whatever your area is in your manifestation, your area. They're just as committed as you are, right? And so these are the people that become power partners. Right? And so there's an exercise and a script you can kind of start to say when you want to identify with them. But essentially what you're doing is, when you're with them, you're sharing your vision, right? And you're in that field of resonance, right? You're in that field, aware of your needs, and then you're connected to them. And then you ask them to share their vision. What are they creating? What are they doing? Ooh, and then what you're listening for is resonance. You're listening for a field of resonance, and you're here and you're listening for to see if they share the same core values as you. They're just as committed as you, right? And so these are the types of people, when you have that resonance, that you're able to energize and able to support your vision. Right? And so then during your conversation, you're giving each other permission to show up in their brilliance and in their folly. You're giving them permission to help make powerful choices and take actions that are in alignment with their vision, right? And then you're starting to share resources, you're starting to share inspiration, you're starting to share support, and you're starting to mirror and reflect and amplify the possibility for each other. You become a visionary, a keeper of their vision, right? So I invite you to start to think about who that might be in your life. And so the invitation is thinking about who that might be, and then exploring how you could reach out to them and extend yourself to them in a way that feels really mutual, without expecting, like, okay, I'm going to send, okay, Danny, I'm going to give you this, now you're going to give me that, and now we're going to be equal, and then we'll be good. So when you extend, you extend with genuine curiosity, like, hey girl, what are you up to? What are you doing? and really see if there's some way that you can support her just by supporting and by championing. And then what happens, you extend yourself. And if you extend yourself and there's reciprocity, and then she just naturally is like, oh, wow, I thought of you. And then this came up and I just wanted to share this with you. Oh, and then there's this natural flow of reciprocity, then you're on to something. Versus you go to someone and you legitimately extend yourself, and for whatever reason, it's not being reciprocated. It might not be the right time. It might not be the right project. It might not be just some set of circumstances. So don't totally forget about them, but don't keep investing. If it's not being reciprocated, just be like, okay, not now. And don't take it personal. It's not about you. It's not about them. It's just not the right moment. Right. And so then just move on, save your energy, and keep going. Right. So that is power partners. And now, so I can see you're writing down, taking a moment, writing down who that might be, and having an invitation to reach out, extend yourself, and see what you might could collaborate or explore with this person. Remember, in your workbook, there's a whole little set of scripts of ways you can reach out to them. So we're getting connected to this larger field, connected to each other. Let's go ahead and do a short, beautiful Qigong practice. Let's stand up and move our bodies and find our feet. I invite you to find your feet and bring your awareness to this field you're in. You've been in this field, and feeling yourself standing on the floor. Your feet are rooted, the top of your head is lifted, your body is starting to expand in front of you and behind you and to the sides of you. Taking a nice deep breath, reaching up, drawing energy in to your body. And now reaching down to the earth and drawing this abundance up from the earth, crossing your arms, spine waving up. And as you open, your hands are tracing this sphere around you, this field of connection. And it's peeling away any and all obstacles between you and others and your field of support. And so reaching down again, inhaling, crossing your arms, spine waving up, really feeling your body emerge as you reach up and open this field, clearing away any and all obstacles above you and below you. We're going to do this one more time. Scooping, drawing this earth energy up. Feel it now come up through the soles of your feet, up through the insides of your legs, up through your spine. Up now, express out through your arms. Now turn your waist to the left, and as you open, you're clearing away all the obstacles in front of you and behind you. Returning to center, scooping one more time, collecting this earth energy, feeling your feet rooted, drawing this energy up through your roots, through your feet, through your legs, up through your pelvis, up through your spine, unfurling your spine. And this is like, imagine almost like you're taking off your shirt, like you're taking off a layer so that you become more vulnerable, more open, more naked in a beautiful way, not a scary way, but in a way that feels like you're removing obstacles, and turn to the right and then open and remove any obstacle that you feel that is inside the old story between you and who you think others are and who the other is in your area of manifestation. Yeah, and let's do that one more time now that we've peeled away the layer. Let's bring ourselves naked one more time, like you're removing this gentle, this is an innocence. You're removing the obstacles so that you are innocently and freshly and vulnerably and magnetically revealing your radiance and removing the obstacles between you and all the resources that are around you in this sphere. As you lower your arms, you feel like you're in a sphere of resources. And speaking of sphere, as you lower your hands, bring your hands close together and rub your palms together. We're going to create energy, and we're drawing awareness to our palms, and we're going to practice a form called the hummingbird. The hummingbird is all about partnership and being in relation to other people. So bringing energy to our hands, and then when you feel ready, opening up your palms. And let's explore this chi ball in our palms. We're just dropping in. Usually in Qigong, we do a lot of steps before we get here. So you're sensing and feeling the points between the palms of your hands. And as you are exploring this energy, as you're pulling your hands apart and pushing your hands together, notice that you're opening and closing your chest. And that's what opens and closes your palms. And when you open and close your chest, you're activating and opening these chi channels and these meridians. And so you're freeing up energy to be poured into the palms of your hands. And so in order for us to really activate this energy, let's go ahead and take this chi ball. We're going to go once in front of our dantian spine wave. So when you breathe in, draw your hands up. Breathe out, let your hands go down. Spine wave, making it bigger. Come up in front of your heart. Out as you exhale. Inhale, draw your hands up. Come up through the top of your head and out. And now sense and feel your palms. You've just generated more energy there. Okay, so here, the hummingbird, finding where your hands naturally land, that place where they want to just be naturally. Trying to maintain to the best of your ability this distance, because we're becoming skillful practitioners. We're not just being carried away with the energy. We are sensing and feeling it skillfully. So moving from your waist, I'm going to open my stance just a little bit. Moving from your waist, as you move from your waist, it encourages your hands to move from side to side. And what's happening is these hands are in a dynamic interplay between the other person. They're in relationship. So you're sensing and feeling when one hand becomes pushed and the other hand follows. When one hand becomes the leader and the other hand is being led. So my top hand right here is pushing. It's pushing down. My bottom hand is being pushed. It can feel itself being pushed. And now right here, right now, my top hand now becomes a leader and it pulls my bottom hand up. Right? So my top hand pushes. My bottom hand is being pushed. It's sensing and feeling being pushed, turning from your waist. And then right now, my top hand becomes the leader and it pulls the bottom hand up. It lifts it up. My top hand pushes. My bottom hand is being pushed, being moved. And now my top hand lifts. So you sense and feel this dynamic between you and the other person that you've been interacting with this evening. You and the other person. Sense and feel what it feels like when you're in a dynamic, aware relationship where you can switch from being the leader to being the follower, from when you switch to being the one that's being active to the one that's being supported, to the one that's being giving and doing, to the one that's receiving, and seeing how both roles are so important, are dynamic. This form wouldn't exist if both weren't in a dynamic interplay. Yeah. And this form teaches us about partnership, teaches us about listening, about the subtle awareness and the harmony between two people, and how each hand is independent, and yet through the field of connection they are interdependent and co-related. This is a partnership dance. In which way are you influencing your partnership? Could it be there's times when you just push too hard and then you break the field? Or is there times when you're not engaged enough and you're lagging and your partner is going off without you and you feel left behind, but you weren't really engaged? Are there times when you're unaware of your connection and so you're always wondering if you're connected when you clearly are, but you need validation because you can't tell if you're connected or not, and you're wondering if you're in a relationship and what kind of relationship is this? Is this even a relationship at all? What is this? Because it doesn't look like other people's connection. So you wonder if you're in relationship rather than being aware that you're connected. When you're the one pushing, what does the other one need? How far away do you need to be? What space do you need to be at so the other one can receive you and respond? This form teaches us about others, that there's times when you're down in the pits, it's dark, it's crummy, and there's times when things are lifted and light and clear and airy and everything's high and peaceful. And there's times in the dark shadow. There's peaks and valleys to relationships. They're not static. They're a dynamic interplay that requires conscious awareness to maintain the health of them. In order to create and manifest at the level of self-actualization, we are in partnership with other people. So who are you in partnership with to create your desire, your heart's desires? So now start to let this, maintaining your chi ball, maintaining your connection, just start to let the motion that goes from side to side, start to slow it down and start to make the motion smaller so it doesn't go so high on the side. It's becoming slower and smaller until eventually it's just right here, right in front of you. And we're real close to the edge, but since we have this gorgeous chi ball, I want us to do what we did with the terma practice. So take your chi ball and put your intention in it with this dynamic between these other people, knowing that you're in a field of infinite possibility, in the quantum field. You are in a field surrounded by resources and people and family and sages and all the wisdom. You have unlocked the power center 1. You have a healthy relationship with yourself. You have connection with a higher power. You've unlocked power center 3. You're in this dynamic interplay with other people, and you place inside this terma, inside this chi ball, your intention. Feel yourself doing that, putting your intention, what you're actualizing and manifesting in this course, making it as physical, as tangible as you can imagine, as specific that seems appropriate, right? That seems appropriate for where you are in this moment. And starting your spine wave, we're going to do once in front of you, and then shift to the left, shift to the past, and find somewhere in the past where you take this gorgeous chi ball, this seed, and you find somewhere in the past that seems really appropriate, and go ahead and plant this intention somewhere in your past. Feel yourself kind of go through the motion. If you want to do spine wave, you can, or you just kind of want to. I'm going to keep my hands holding this chi ball so I can hold my awareness, but I'm also, with my mind, with my visualization, I'm planting the seed somewhere. It doesn't have to be the ground. It could be in something. Put it in something. Plant it somewhere. Embed it. Infuse it. And now, taking this chi ball, spine waving, and now activating it, energizing it, being clear with it, and now shift to the right, shift to the future. Shifting to the future, you have this chi ball in your hands, you're interconnected to the cosmos, to yourself, to others, with your intention, what you're manifesting, and you are finding somewhere into the future, and you are embedding it and implanting it into the future. Finding that place and putting that chi ball into the future that feels appropriate to you. Go through any physical motion that you want to do, that your body wants to do, instinctively do, to feel that you've embedded it, that you've planted it. And you can practice this on your own, sense and feel that it got absorbed into the matrix of that future place. And now bringing your chi ball in front of you, your intention right here in front of you in your hands, and bring your chi ball up to the top of your head and let it saturate enter your energetic field, into the spaces of your mind, into the light centers of your brain, into all of your senses, into your super senses, your inner vision, inner sight, inner hearing, inner knowing, inner wisdom, inner speech, into your hormonal endocrine system, into your spiritual centers and awakening intuitive wisdom centers of your mind, and letting this energy permeate and saturate every cell of your body as it moves down through your throat, down through your heart, down through your breast, through your lungs, down through all the spaces, down into your kidneys and into your stomach and into your liver and into your spleen and pancreas, into your intestines and down into your womb, into your uterus, into your ovaries, into your eggs inside your ovaries, into your fallopian tubes and down into your yoni and into your clitoris and into the sensation that goes through your body as a wave, into the pleasure receptors of your body and of your mind, and deep into your skin and into your fat and into your cellulite, into your neurons and into your nervous system and blood circulatory system, into your bones, into every area, your ligaments. Let it flow down through every area of your body that you could possibly imagine, into every cell. That light, remember that beautiful light that permeates every area of your body. And taking that intention as it is planted in you, for time's sake, you're just going to be a rapid person. You're going to take your hand and like massage it in, tracing your energy pathway so it goes really into the circuitry, down the inside of your arms, up the outside of your arms, down your back, down to your kidneys, down the backs of your legs, down to your feet, up the insides of your thighs, up across your genitalia, across your pubic bone, up across your dantian, across your waist, and back to your kidneys. You're encapsulated with this creation of power, aligned with yourself, aligned with the universe, aligned with others, with this chi life force, with your intention. It's becoming even more real and more manifest. Beautiful. So I invite you to do what you need to do, and I invite you to come and find your seat so that we can complete our practice. Beautiful. Oh. So as we're completing our practice, I like to linger in the chi space. And I would really like to debrief with you and harvest some of the learnings, because there are some really specific questions. And sometimes I blow over this part and just share with the key takeaways. But I have some specific questions who would like to share. And I'm just going to ask you the questions, and then you can kind of know when it's you that wants to know it. But like, I really am curious, like, who tended to be more first awareness on other people, and then who tended to be more first awareness on themselves? Just curious about that. In their
Yeah,
area.
that was me, and that's actually my area of intention. It's about allowing like that, allowing to let go of control. So that's definitely me. I look after everybody else, and I feel like I'm on I'm sorry, my dogs are going crazy. I feel like I feel like I'm better than other people if I'm able to handle when I'm able to handle everything by myself. And today's session really struck a nerve because, you know, it's all of that being vulnerable stuff and the friendship layers, relationship layers, and that's all the stuff I'm working on right now. So but yeah, I definitely see myself as failing if I can't take care of everybody else. I see myself as selfish if I give myself time. Yeah, so that definitely struck with me for sure.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it gets vulnerable when we get in there, doesn't it? We start disrupting stuff. And so, next question, maybe same person, next person, who knows? But in your area of intention, who are the others? Like, who's the others? And what's the old story about who the others are in your area of intention? Well, so to tack on to that, so like, who are the others? What was the old story? And then, so if you have that, then kind of, so what's the new story? So, like, others are, I don't know, men are always like my dad and they're going to leave. Or so the new story is, oh, they're not all like my dad. Not all men are like my dad. It's just the ones that I'm picking out. Or, you know, like there's a new story. Or my dad didn't leave me. My dad left the situation, right? And so there are maybe some news stories about who people are, clients are.
Yeah, I noticed that the concept of the others is like what I feel like the part that I don't feel like fully integrated or jagged emotion is because my projection, which means the reflection of the others is part of me that waiting to be integrated. So in that sense, there is no others. There's only the part that I fully embody and the part that waiting to be embodied.
Yeah. And then can you see how you can have a sense of how it's so important that they integrate? Because you can have a sense of like, oh, I'm so free and I'm so beautiful and I'm so loving and I'm so connected to spirit, but then others aren't. And so then I'm unable to manifest my dream because they're not. So then you see how the shifting of how others are really influences your ability to bring in what you need in your life.
It's because the others reflect part of my own shadow that I haven't fully integrated yet. By feeling and sensing, it helped me to reevaluate which part of me that I'm not fully embodied, haven't have the need to readjust, recalibrate, and more grounded.
And so what part is that?
It's still like a on day-to-day basis, and right now lately it's more of a sensation, like it's like on the upper right body area, shoulder area. I'm waiting to be more grounded. This part of me, like everybody else is like especially those triggering scenario or people actually telling me that I need to be more centered and grounded in that part of my body. Yeah.
And so are you typically other focused or self focused?
I guess when I get triggered, it could be kind of distracted. But then when I'm toning in, I realize that I have to take care of the self. Others are just reminder of my own needs to take care of myself. I guess more other focus for many years, but now I'm slowly learning how to reground into my own body.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so what are some needs that you may have so that you can slowly ground into your own body, and needs that you have and the support that you identified to reach out for?
There are two parts. One part is how I can express what I feel, what kind of feelings that I want to enjoy in life, so that I can give other people a chance to help me, support me, assist me in that way. But in another way, it's my own need. I need to be able to vocalize the need in a very crystal clear way, so people see it clearly, not just assuming that I want in certain way. So in certain way, I have to see it more crystal clear how I want to be helped as well.
Exactly. That's one of the major, that's how we get resources, is we have a very clear, we're aware of what our needs are, so then we're able to receive it.
Yeah,
If we don't
exactly.
know what, if we don't know what we need and we're just fumbling around, then that's, no one can really give it to us. Well, we won't be
Yes.
satisfied with anything we get because it's not exactly what we need. And so remember in Power Center 1, we did that. Hey, Maria, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm feeling really kind of tired now. So what do you need? Oh, I need to rest, right? Hey, you're like going through that, your feelings and your needs. That will really help you get clear on how to access the resources. Unlocking Power Center 1, that's why we started there, not because, well, we start there because it's ourselves, but also because it's the foundation, gives us all the tools to unlock all the other ones.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
How about you, Taylor? Which one of these do we want to answer? Like who others are, if you're overly other focused or self-focused, or some of the needs you have?
I think I'm mostly other focused, but then I started to feel like sometimes I was focused on myself, like just depending on the relationship. But yeah, as like Daisy said, I still need to get more clear on my needs because I'm also not clear on communicating that. I'm still not like fully aware of what I need. So how can anybody else meet those needs? That's just impossible. That's setting everybody up for failure.
And so that's where in the handout, and I think it's session 4, or I know for sure when you go on the learning portal, there's a little recording that says feeling and needs inventory. And so that might be a supportive resource. And so could any of you identify who a power partner might be, and who you would reach out for a power partner?
Yeah, I could. Except I think that time I have had power partners before, but I think time, like everything, it just fluctuates and goes around in waves. And so one of my power partners has been my sister. And because we live continents apart, we haven't actually been in person together for many, many, many years. But being able to connect via Zoom, last year was a big power partnership with her and I, like a lot of bonding moments. We're both on a very similar spiritual path. We had some mother wounds. We worked through some of those together. So yeah, and then the last few months, there's been a separation. She's kind of going on her own path, and I'm going on mine, and I'm sure that will come back. It'll ebb and flow again. But I definitely have identified her as a potential future power partner.
Nice. 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 Cool. And back to you, Taylor. I'm just real curious. Were you able, I know you talked about needs, were you able to identify who the others are? And maybe have an old story and a new story about others?
With others, I don't really understand. I wrote down I have different forgiveness. Like I have different forgivenesses based on certain people. Like I feel like I can forgive. It's really easy for me to forgive not friends. I can't forgive my friends. I feel like because I know their story, for some reason it makes me just want to blame them more. Like I find more fault, and I don't like that about myself. Yeah.
So in your friends, so in your area of intent, what's your area of intention where your friends are coming up?
Just building better relationships, because I feel like I've had a lot of loss with friendships.
Okay. And so you're seeing that others why would you need to forgive them? So maybe they hurt you, others hurt you?
Yeah, that's probably like the story is like I'm focusing on myself in those situations and not necessarily focusing on their needs. Like that's where I would be more focused on myself. Like,
And so you're focused on yourself and others are hurting you and you can't forgive them.
mhm.
So then that's good. So then not good, but like you said, you're going somewhere and you can drop into what's the deeper truth of who others, when you like are able to be aware of yourself and able to be aware of them.
I don't know that I can just be more understanding. Like I can give more. I don't need to hold them. I don't know. This is difficult for me. Like I don't need to hold them to I don't know.
Well, there could be, yeah, this is a process, right? But I'm helping you have a train of thought. So if others are hurting you, and then here you are, I'm self-focused, and there's these others, and I can't forgive them. And so I don't exactly know your story, but maybe others are hurtful. And so maybe the story is others are hurtful, but when I go to the deeper truth, maybe they weren't trying to actually hurt me specifically. I got hurt in the situation, but it wasn't even a personal thing. I'm just making this up because I don't know your story. So maybe the deeper truth is they're going through the best they can, and I was going through the best I can. We both got hurt in that. What do I need? What does she need? What does he need? And is it possible that if I were to extend myself and listen, maybe I could get an awareness of what they need, and then we could heal this divide?
That's it. That's 100% what it is. Everything you just said.
Right, so just follow the trail. So follow the trail. We just can't see it when it's close to us. I mean, you could probably do the exact same thing for me based on half the examples I've given you, right? Of like the old stories, right? So yeah, so follow that trail and get curious about that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is really important. If it's coming up to you for you right here, once you learn how to do it maybe with this one person, then it can help you with all the others.
Mhm.
Because there's like a method. When you go into a quantum thing, it just starts to be like, order of operations. This works, and and then that works.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So it's time. Let's stitch out. This was a wonderful session because dealing with other people, it's easier in a way to kind of deal with ourselves because it's always ourselves. Whether you're with somebody or alone, you're always with yourself. Other people come and go, partially because we push them or we drag them or we avoid them or any number of things, but they're responding to us. So what are you stitching out with? I want to thank all of you for your vulnerability. I know I had us do Qigong where we got naked and then we touched places in here, right? And so I know that dealing with others, it's such the spot, right? It's the spot, it's the rub. Especially for spiritual people, it's easier to like deal with like nature and the universe. That part's easy. It's expansive, it feels good, it's right. But this, we're touching a rub spot again. So, but this is how it manifests. If we can't get through this, your thing is like the bottleneck for your dream to come into fruition. It's here. So, this is
I want
beautiful.
to, oh, sorry, Maria. I was going to say, just on that note, I want to stitch out with vulnerability. Like, I want to be more vulnerable.
Okay, vulnerability.
I'm totally copying. I'm going to stitch out with an acceptance of vulnerability, that it's okay. It's not a negative word. It's a positive word. So vulnerability.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I also want to tag along the vulnerability and also want to say deep gratitude for all my friends and people in my life who witnessing me, my journey, and holding my tender vulnerability with so much compassion and love and deep gratitude for all my soulmate, soul family, and kindred spirit walking this tender path with me.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm stitching out with that. So I'm going to weave in, you're stitching out with vulnerability. Acceptance of vulnerability is that it's actually a strength and it's a courageous action. And then for appreciation of others in our lives that teach us to be vulnerable. And through our vulnerability, we create connection. And through that connection, we co-create and we awaken and we alive and we heal. So that's what I'm taking out, that connection and healing. Beautiful. So thank you. This is the time. If you need to bow out, you can. If you want to stay and listen to a song, this is a beautiful song. That highlights this working with others, being with others, listening. I'm going to turn this up a little bit and dance. Tell me what makes you weary. Tell me what lies. Lay down and harmonize to me. That's you.